the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City. So subscribe, comment, share, and like. We'll be joined with D. Joseph Aguirre later on in the show as we talk some New York baseball, New York Yankee baseball, I should be saying, as the New York Bronx Bombers, once called Bronx Bombers, are back to their old ways again. So what team is going to show up every game? Is it going to be the team that hits 6 to 7 runs, a couple home runs, or is it going to be the team that we've been seeing for the past couple of, or majority of this season, where they just cannot hit the ball? But let's start off with the NBA playoffs. And we're going to also talk a little Coach K, because Coach K comes out this week with the breaking news of his retirement after this year. So we'll talk about that, as I am a big Duke fan. But let's start off with the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs have been great throughout this entire season. And I've been loving what I've seen. I've been seeing the stars, the young stars have really – we saw last year with Devin Booker. We saw last year with Donovan Mitchell. We saw last year with Jamal Murray, Luka Doncic. The list goes on. Jason Tatum. Well, those guys have continued to show this postseason that wasn't a fluke, as you could see with Devin Booker's emergence as a superstar, Donovan Mitchell, and all these guys. That's my biggest takeaway that I've seen from this NBA playoffs. And one more thing, Ted, before I get to you, is the teams that are eliminated right now. The Celtics, the Knicks. I know the Knicks just got in, but still, the New York Knicks were in the playoffs. That's a big deal for the NBA. The Miami Heat, who was just in the finals last year. Now you have the LA Lakers officially eliminated after last night. And then you could have the LA Clippers as well getting – maybe they're thrown again in the playoffs, an early exit. So, Ted, we'll get into the Lakers quickly in a few, but what is your biggest takeaway so far that you've seen from this NBA playoffs?
I don't have biggest takeaways. I have an overall feeling. I was telling you beforehand. The Knicks had flaws. They overachieved during the regular season. They overachieved. They did what they had to do during the regular season, but I didn't think they were going to win the series. They weren't the better team. They didn't have the best player on the court. Trae Young was the best player on the court. The Lakers, they have flaws. We realize that. LeBron's older. He was dealing with an ankle injury. Anthony Davis had injuries. I mean, their team has been dysfunctional. Dennis Schroeder puts up 25 in a game and then doesn't show up for the next 4 games. I mean, Kyle Kuzma, he has disappeared wholeheartedly. You
say that again.
I mean, signed Drummond. You picked up Drummond after the free. When he got dropped by Cleveland, and then you're like, all right, well, he doesn't even play, and then because he doesn't match up well, and then you sign Montrezl Harrell, and then he's in the doghouse. And so, listen, the Jazz are the best overall team in the NBA. That's why they're the best record. Doesn't mean they have – I told you this as I was driving to the gym. It has nothing to do with regards to talent. Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee Bucks are probably the 2 most talented teams left, and they're going to face off in the second round. The best overall team, though, is the Jazz. They can go 10 deep. I mean, they can bring guys off the bench that fill – I mean, Bogdanovic is healthy this year. Joe Ingles. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. I mean, Mike Conley's really found the flow with this team. So what I have to say is this. The best series coming up is easily the Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee, and I think the winner of that series is going to win the championship, because I think both of those teams are better than everyone. I think they will eventually beat the Jazz, which I think the Jazz will end up playing the Suns. With regards to LA, this is the Clippers' opportunity to shine. Steve Ballmer, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, you made the move to get Rondo. This is their opportunity to shine. I don't think they're going to win, though, because Donovan Doncic, I mean, do you realize he had 42 points? Of the 37 field goals they made, he assisted or scored on 32 of them. Porzingis, who was supposed to be the number 2, had 8 points.
Yeah, it's been impressive what Lucas has been doing so far single-handedly for that team, and he's on the brink of getting to – I mean, you're getting to the second round of the NBA playoffs in an wide open Western Conference. We should also, mind you, think about the possibility that we're going to have the Utah Jazz the Phoenix Suns, the Denver Nuggets, and possibly the Dallas Mavericks as the final four in the Western Conference. I don't think many people – I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I didn't see that happening. I could see people saying being a little surprised by it. But really, you think about it. You look at the Eastern Conference. Well, you got the Sixers, who's been there for a while. You got the Nets, who we all expected should be there. The Bucks, the Hawks surprised me. But to look at the Western Conference, the four teams that could possibly be in the playoffs left. I mean, I don't think you would have been saying that the Phoenix Suns would be the 2 seed on top of it. I mean, to see what the young stars are doing right now,
they are worth the 2 seed. They were better than the Lakers.
It's just amazing. Like we always talk about in the NBA, who's gonna take the torch? Who's gonna pass the torch off? Because you've always had superstars that are in different decades. Well, now LeBron's time is coming sooner than maybe later. I mean, he's still going to be LeBron, but there's moving on to the future. And you look at this future of the NBA, man, there is some great, and I mean exceptional talent currently in the NBA right now. And you're seeing all these guys not just doing in the regular season, but continuing it into the playoffs. So Devin Booker, Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Luka. I mean, yeah, we always, even Zion when he gets his time. I know we always like, who's the face of the NBA? Well, why can't it just be like this younger generation? I mean, these guys are all unbelievable. And I think
if Luka and the Dallas Mavs can get a number 2, Luka will end up being the guy. I truly believe that. He's phenomenal. Okay. He's only, 22 years old. He's phenomenal, bro. He really is. So I was thinking about this too with the Clippers and Kawhi's legacy and stuff, right? And I truly believe he's not a leader. He's a great player. He's the best player. He's the best player in that series. It's not Doncic. It's Kawhi. And what I mean by that is he plays defense. He could score. He does everything well. But he has not shown up, and he's not a true leader. I was thinking about, Colin when he was talking about Kawhi, and I'm thinking, he wasn't the leader on the Raptors. It was Kyle Lowry. Lowry was the dog in the house. It wasn't Kawhi. And I think if they go out in the first round to the Dallas Mavericks, a team that they should beat. They had the better record. They had 47 wins. Dallas had 42. They have Paul George and Kawhi and Rondo and Reggie Jackson. I mean, and probably a bunch of other guys that I can't just think off the top of my head. They fired Doc Rivers, right? It was Doc Rivers' fault last year, right? Because he couldn't make adjustments. Now you have Tyronn Lue. I mean, he's got a championship. What's going to be the excuse for the Clippers when they don't win this series?
It just was a failed. It was just a failed experiment. Just a failed, plain and simple. If they lose in the first round, especially this year, with the way they finished last year and how they lost to this year, we all thought that they would bounce back after a disgraceful final 3 games against the Nuggets. To see them maybe being possibly bounced after tonight, I mean, it's over. You just got to scrap the plans and go back to the drawing boards, because that's what it comes down to. And even with the Lakers. And I wanted to get into the Lakers because I am a Laker fan. And it's disappointing to see that we just talked about the Clippers. Their season could come to an end. The Lakers at least have a title. So when we think of the Lakers and AD, LeBron's little duo, I mean, you got one. I mean, and they talked about on Get Up this morning. Will the Lakers ever win with LeBron again and AD? And Stephen A. Smith, hold on. Stephen A. Smith said it's closed. And the thing is that comes to this offseason, what do the Lakers do? I mean, they got to find shooters. They have to figure out what they want to do with Anthony Davis, because you cannot continue to have a guy who, when he's on the floor, is one of the best in the entire game, by far. One of the most talented big men, by far. That's what my key thing is, when he's on the court. And Charles Barkley made a little comment, a little joke, calling him street clothes. Because it seems like every time we think of Anthony Davis, he's in his mask, his hoodie, his pants, and he's sitting on the bench because he's injured. That's what we think of when we think of Anthony Davis. We don't think of the man that's dominating, going 30, 35, or 30, 30 points and 10 rebounds, 12 rebounds last year in the NBA Finals. No, we don't think of that. We think of the man that's sitting on the bench because he's having an injury. And that's a problem, and that's an issue that the Lakers have to figure out, in a situation that they have to figure out. So it's disappointing to see the season come to an end the way it did, especially the last 2 games.
Well, see, I would add 2 more teams to this list, and it would be the Knicks and the Celtics too. And the reason why I'm throwing these in because I look at similarities. So what I see with the Knicks is they overachieve. They got a good base. Okay, they have a good base.
Yeah, they got a good foundation.
I think Tibbs has got to though. He's got to get over this thing of wearing the guys out during the regular season. Okay, Derrick Rose was their best player. That can't be right. He can't be the best player on the team. Julius Randle
in the playoffs, he was the best player. I would.
Yes.
But that's not Julius Randle.
So Julius Randle was the best player during the regular season. Didn't show up in the playoffs. Julius Randle's a 3. Let's be honest. If Julius Randle's your 1 or 2, you're not going to win a championship in today's day and age.
I think he could be a 2, depending on who's your 1.
Trev, if he was going to be your 2, then he should have showed up in the playoffs. He's not good enough. He's got to be your 3. He's got to be your Chris Bosh. You comprende? And Chris Bosh is a Hall of Famer and a great player.
Fair enough.
The Celtics. I think
they're gonna have a new coach.
They've missed their window big time. They don't have a big guy. They're wasting away Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They signed Kimba, he's 6 foot. He gives you all the effort in the world, but he's not good enough, and he has injury issues. They signed Gordon Hayward and got hurt in the first minute. So I think their window has missed on their opportunities. And I think the Celtics need to make a drastic change. And if that means trading Jaylen Brown, because I don't think they'll trade Tatum, I think they have to. I think they have to make a big move. I think they have to do something, or else they're just going to fall into this. Because here's the thing. The Nets are not going anywhere. And neither is Milwaukee again next year. And I don't think the Sixers are going. So right now, you're automatically the 4th best team. You're the 4th best team in the East right now. Those 3 teams are much better than you. All right, so the Knicks need a superstar. Now I think it will go to the Blazers thing because that's what you wanted to talk about in the Lakers and the Blazers. The Blazers got to blow it up. They have to blow the whole thing up. I think Dame.
This is like
Dame. Hold on, one thing. Dame tweeted out something like a year or 2 ago about like he was remember he was like, I'm not one of those guys that are going to set up a superstar team or a super team.
He posted something last night too.
He needs to go, bro. He needs to go. Listen, for his own sake, or Portland's got to go make an all-out move. Sorry, the CJ McCollum thing done. Carmelo's a free agent. They don't listen. He might go down as one of the. Remember, we did a thing, me and Joe, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago about exciting players. Remember, I had Damian Lillard. He really is. I really love him. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. I mean, it just proved the other night. He's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to Pat last night at Hard. I said, you know what? If I had to pick one guy to make one shot at the end of the game, you know who I'm taking? Damian Lillard. I'm not taking Curry. Now, listen, in clutch time, I'll take Lillard.
I want Lillard. Yeah.
Now, listen, I said Curry might make 10 threes in a row, but I want Damian Lillard taking – it's like Kobe. I want Damian Lillard taking the last shot at the end of the game because I don't think anyone could stop. I'll take him over LeBron, anyone. And I think I just would love to see him leave Portland and really, I'd love to see him in New York. I'd love to see him.
Here's what I want to say. Hold on. So here's what I want to say about all 4 of those teams. The Celtics, everybody that wants to call them a failure and Danny Ainge's tenure, I don't think it's a failure. To make the Eastern Conference 3 of the last 4 years, championship, I should say, conference finals. I mean, with the team that they had, that's more credit to Danny Ainge, and he still has one of the best trades of all time, and getting Jason Tatum from
but it never turned out anything.
Huh?
The Nets.
I know, but it's still not a failure. You can't say that's a failure. It all depends on.
It's a failure because you didn't win a championship.
No, hold on. Shut it. Listen to me. Failure to me, yes. A failure to me is if the Clippers lose tonight for what they did. The Celtics are still a very young team. They still are led by Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They got to figure out what they want to do. They need a legit big. It's been their always.
Danny Ainge had all these draft picks, Trev. He's missed on draft picks. He had
How does
sorry.
he miss on draft picks when he has Jalen Brown, and Jason Tatum, two of the?
Yeah,
I mean,
two out of Jeff. How many picks has he had in the last 5 years?
well, come on, man. You think this is the NFL? What do you think? You only need it's the NBA.
Listen,
you don't need certain things. You need
listen,
specific things.
Kept going. Oh, we're gonna trade back and we'll wait next year. We'll get more draft picks. This is not the NFL where you're trying to load up. Go get the superstar. It didn't happen.
What's a super? Hold on. What's a superstar nowadays?
Anthony Davis missed out on Anthony Davis.
Okay, go trade. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so you won one title.
Had a single for Kimba. Now they had bad luck with the Gordon Hayward. A minute into his friggin' contract, he breaks his ankle, or the devastating injury. He's missed, bro. Guys never got Drummond, never got Anthony Davis. He's missed out on opportunities. Kyrie experiment that disappeared and bit him in the ass.
Oh, because Kyrie,
it doesn't matter if Kyrie's a weirdo. It didn't work out. You went after Kyrie and missed.
I don't think it's a failure. I don't think it's a failure.
Yeah. Being a hypocrite. You said a couple years ago when the Yankees made the ALCS and didn't win the championship, it's a failure. It's a failure, bro. You got to win championships. This is not listen. And the reason why I say that it's the Celtics. This is the Boston Celtics. This ain't Orlando Magic. I think they're Portland Trailblazers. This ain't even the Clippers. Now you are right. The Clippers thing, if they don't get knocked out in the first round, is a failure. That's a whole different story. But we're talking about Danny Ainge for a second. The Celtics, that was a failure. You don't have all these draft picks year after year after year in salary cap and can't win. Sorry, Miami beat you. I mean, all these teams, they got beat, bro. And there's no excuse. And then Brad Stevens was supposed to be the guy. I'm sorry, it's a failure. The Clippers, when they lose, that's a failure too.
I don't think it's a failure. But anyways, the Knicks. With the Knicks, they got to find a superstar. They got to be the New York Knicks. They got to go find a true superstar, and that's what it comes down to. The Lakers, they got to figure out shooting. They got to figure out Anthony Davis' situation and what they want to do with that. Because right now, I don't know if the Lakers are going to win another title with LeBron and AD. With the current situation with LeBron getting older, dealing with a serious injury this year, and you can see that fatigue and father time is catching up onto the king, as they like to call him. And then AD has to figure out if he's going to want to take care of his body or not, and if he wants to continue to play NBA basketball at a high level too. That's what it comes down to. The Blazers, I mean, Damian Lillard, they got to go. This is like a Toronto Raptors situation. They got to just figure it out and make a massive trade. Whether that's trading to Lillard or adding to Lillard in the company, then they got to figure something out. But the NBA playoffs as a whole has been tremendous. It's been exciting, exhilarating, and the stars, I should say the young stars, because the league will be carried by some great young talent, and there was great young talent on display, and it's going to continue for the rest of the NBA playoffs. So the NBA is in good hands with the superior younger talent. 25 and younger. The players that are in the NBA right now that are 25 and younger, my God. It's impressive, man. There's not one or two that are like at a younger level. And we're even not even, Giannis is still a young player. And look where he is. We're talking about like 6, 7 to like 10 players that are legit all-star caliber players that are all under 25 or close to it, little 26. I mean, it's unreal to think of the talent, and I'm happy to see it because it's been on display last year, and it's certainly on display this year.
So, quick question before you move on to the next subject: Who comes out? Who wins the second round in the East? Who you got?
I'm going with I think the Bucks. I said the Sixers. That's another thing. AD. It's like the AD situation. This is why I don't want to pick the Sixers, and I'm always afraid, and I just stay away from them because of the factor of Embiid. His injury, if he's not 100%, don't be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I still think the Sixers
Don't be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks are in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's all I'm going to say. It all depends on the health of Joel Embiid. And then quickly, I'm going not with the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going with the defense and the superior defense and perimeter shooting of the Milwaukee Bucks to dethrone the so-called new team in the NBA or the bad boys of the NBA. I'm going with the Bucks.
I think that DiVincenzo injury might hurt them.
It could be.
Just because of his ability to do everything for them. You know what I mean? He rebounds really well. He can play great defense. He could match up with listen, Harden will still get his, but he could match up against Harden. He could match up against Kyrie.
We'll talk about that. I don't want to get into too much.
No. So what I'm saying is that's why I think the Nets will win.
Okay.
Even though I think Giannis is going to have a huge series. I think
All right.
Giannis is and so I think Brooklyn and the Sixers will go to the Eastern Conference. I think even if Embiid's out, Sixers will still win.
Okay. Well, I
And
can,
then
I don't know. I don't want no predictions.
and then I think the Jazz will take care of business. Whoever they play.
We're not talking about preview. We'll
I
talk
know,
about.
but I told you who I like. I'm telling you.
I don't care. I don't care what you like. We'll talk about it later.
And I think the Suns will win because there's no Jamal Murray and Will Barton on this. And I think
let's move on. All right, let's move on because Ted wants.
Right. You don't have nothing to say.
No, I already said what I had to say.
Say what you got to say. Say what you got to say.
I told you what I got to say. Well, Coach K had something to say this week, and the coach, the legendary, I shouldn't say just the coach, the legendary Coach K will be calling it quits after this year, 21-22 season. And when you think of Coach K, I mean, he's one of the first names, other than maybe John Wooden. When you think of college basketball, you think of Duke, you think of Coach K. His legacy in basketball as a whole, with the Olympics too, and having a connection with the NBA, and having also the talent that he's been able to get drafted. And when they get drafted, they're the top of the line, top guys. He's been there since the beginning. He's been there through changes. He's been there through all the bad of college basketball, and having last year one of his worst seasons as a team with Duke not making the playoffs. And you see what his legacy is. I'm just going to give you a couple stats of Coach K. 1170 wins overall. That's going to add to, obviously, it's his last year. Most in college basketball history. D1, I should say. Has more 20-win seasons, 36, and 30-win seasons, 15, than any coach in NCAA history. 5 titles, 12 Final Fours. Should have 6 titles if it wasn't for that debacle against the UConn Huskies. Should be 6. But anyway, also 97 tournament wins, 35 tourney appearances.
Lost to UConn twice.
The most all time.
Lost to UConn twice, bro.
When we think of Coach K, we think of greatness. We think of a man that always brought something different and new to college basketball and Duke. Hold on, and Duke. And when I also think of him, I think he's a game changer. I think he's a tone setter in the sense of, I mean, when the past 10 years, it's always been the one and done rule, and he's been a big part of always having big recruiting classes alongside John Calipari with Kentucky. It's always been Duke or Kentucky. When we think of Coach K, we just think of a legend, plain and simple.
Well, when I think of college basketball, I think of what our parents used of what they thought of as John Wooden. I mean, Coach K is the guy. I mean, when I think of college basketball, I think of Coach K. All right, I think might go down as one of the greatest coaches of all time, and I'm talking all sports. I'm not just saying college basketball. It's easily him and John Wooden 1 and 2, and you could put it however you see fit. Different eras. Coach K evolved. I mean, you didn't even mention he's got 5 gold medals.
Oh, yeah, gold medals.
He was assistant coaches on the early teams, and then he won the last 3. You know, you think about his relationship with Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. You know, you think about the NBA guys respecting him as a coach too. Very intellectual guy, winning at a program that we look at as like a Yale. You know, you look at Duke, small stadium. You know, Cameron Indoor. This ain't some of the other big arenas that you're used to. Small school, academic, you know, it's not – when you think of college basketball, you know, you think of Kentucky, you think of UCLA, you think of Kansas, you know. I mean, you think of Duke too, but what he has done for the Duke University, what he did for college basketball, tremendous person, coach. I mean, you think about – this was a guy that evolved. I mean, he was a guy that had all seniors and then realized if I'm going to compete with these other guys, I have to – do the one and done guys.
I think the biggest thing
he did, and he succeeded in that too. I mean, think about it. Last year was the first time since '95 that Duke hadn't made the tournament. I mean, when you think about Duke every year, they're a top 5, top 10 program every year. I mean, I think a lot of that also has to do with COVID. You know, not being able to have the freshmen in. It's going to be sad to see. Mike, you know, you posted a question: what will Duke's future be? I don't know. I
Can they
don't.
maintain?
I don't expect. I will
maintain
say
the
this.
success?
I will hold on. I will say this. Like you've seen with a lot of other major programs, UConn, Calhoun leaves, took a dip. Yeah, I mean, I know. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank.
Molly.
Kevin Ollie won a championship, but it was Calhoun's guys. Okay, UCLA took major dips after Wood, and then they've never been the same. Kentucky's maintained, but they had a gap. You know, they had the Patino years, and they had a gap. And Tubby Smith was decent, and then they got Calipari.
UNC with Dean Smith.
I mean,
too.
listen, they took a dip. They took a
Yeah.
dip, and then
Maintain success.
until they got a legendary coach like Roy Williams, you know, what's going to happen?
Let me ask you this question. So, I mean, UNC also is going to have a new head coach this season, Herbert Davis, and then John Shire, who's going to be the next head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. Do you think that they can maintain the success, or is it going to be extremely hard? Also, hold on, take in consideration with this whole presentation now of the new rule they're going to change, the one and done rule. They're also the G League. You're going to have that big presence. Our players just going to say, screw this. I'm going to go to G League, try to get my game. If I want to be in the NBA, I got to go against players in another tier above me, and I can make some money on top of it. So do you think Duke and even college basketball as a whole, I know Duke, we're talking Duke specifically, but with all these now coming on or these new rules for the NBA, do you think that they could, all those teams, maintain the success?
No, I think, listen, they're not going to – Duke is not going to be the same as Duke. Duke will still be good. Duke will be competitive, just like UNC's been competitive. But you know, as a true professional athlete that's trying to get to – you want to go play for Coach K. You want to play for Bobby Knight. You want to play for Roy Williams. You want to play for
Shire won't be able to do that? Part of the
reason of going to Duke is playing for Coach K.
Shire won't be able to, you think Shire won't be able to do it?
Well, who are you going to recruit? Supposedly he's a great recruiter. But he's saying
he built the foundation.
Hold on. He's recruiting for Coach K.
Yeah.
Now who's going to recruit for him? Hey, you want to come play for John Shire? Like, he hasn't built no legacy.
Why are you on Shire?
Dude, because he's got no legacy. There's a difference.
Well, when they replace a legend. Come on, you got to give the man a chance.
They're going to take a dip. It's going to be natural. It's part of the program. It's like anything else. The only school that really hasn't taken a dip is Kansas.
I think with the foundation that Coach K has built for Duke and over the past 40 years that he's been there,
you're not going to get that extra player that you normally get because Coach K isn't there. Going to be there.
Well, you don't think
by going into someone's household, Coach K walks into someone's household and goes, "I want you to play for me." Do you know what that represents? We don't. But for these kids, absolutely, because they know his relationship with NBA players. They know his ability to get people to the NBA.
It's going to be like when
John Shire was going, come on, come play with Coach K. He's got connections to the NBA. He knows people. He knows how to – his ability to be there. Just like Indiana. Indiana has never been the same thing since Bob Knight left.
Okay.
UConn, you think about it. UConn has taken – think about where UConn was with Jim Calhoun. They've not been the same. They have not even been close to the same without Jim Calhoun.
I think Duke's going to stay consistent. I really do, but I think it's going to –
They will not be as consistent.
Okay, shut it. You're pretty consistent with interrupting me.
Shut up. Let me just shut you – put the mute on.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you spiel. Yeah, right. Anyways, what I was going to say is
Duke didn't make the playoffs last year. It's called the tournament.
It's not the playoffs, Ted. It's called the NCAA tournament. Get it right.
You said the playoffs, idiot. Go back and look.
Get right. Yeah, go back to Cincinnati. What I was going to say is I'm saying in general, I think it's going to be tough for all of college basketball because of those new NBA rules. And with the G League playing a major impact, you know that guys are going to be like, especially high school kids, they see money and they see an opportunity to play against players of another tier better than them. Then, of course, they're going to take the opportunity instead of, oh, let's go to school. We got to go to class. We're not making any money. And if we do, we get in trouble. And then the school gets yada, yada, yada. It's just a whole big issue that they got to deal with. I think it's going to be tough for NCAA as a whole because of the whole new rules. But I think Duke can still manage because it's Duke. And I think Coach K, what he has been able to do to build the foundation.
Well, listen, we've mentioned it, before, Trev. college basketball has taken a dip in the last 5 years with the one and done rules and everything. We've talked about this. It's not the same. Listen, I still love college basketball. It just doesn't have the same impact it did. I used to know every single player on teams and everything. Now I don't know. I mean, I used to, even though the UConn fan, I can name all 5 stars for Duke and UNC and Kentucky and other teams. I can't no more. I just don't know the players like I used to because they're not there. You know, well, and I think college, and that's why like college football strives, because you're able to build a rapport with these guys. Trevor Lawrence is not
you know what you're gonna get. You know what you're getting with college football. You don't know what you're getting with college basketball. Speaking of not knowing, and look who's decided to join us is the Joseph Aguirre, because we're just talking about Duke and all the foundation, and we just finished off with knowing what college football is. We know what we're gonna get with the product. College basketball.
Do you have an AC on or something? Because you're making me hot with that hoodie, bro.
It's about 65 degrees in here right now. Yeah, I was doing some yard work earlier, so I've got this thing as low as it could be without my house freezing over.
Why you didn't pull like a Zeke Elliott and just a little tuck it in, have the stomach out, prove it, like show it to all the neighbors? No, but I was gonna say is
nice. UConn women in Tennessee.
Shut it, Ted. The college basketball, we don't know what we're gonna get. Why I'm saying that is because we don't know what we're going to get from the New York Yankees so far throughout this season. One game they look like the New York Yankees. The next they look like the New York. I don't even know what to call them, because it's every week or every day, I should say, that this team has the potential, like we've been saying for years, to take over a game offensively. And that even last week or a couple weeks ago when they were on their nice little hot streak and they started playing defense well and they were hitting the ball, and we were like, okay, this is what we expect for the Yankees. Now we're back to getting swept by the Detroit Tigers and not playing defense and terrible base running awareness and not being able to hit again. Do you want to know that this is the 22nd time this season that the Yankees have been able or haven't scored more than 2 to 3 runs? That's on par with teams like the Tigers, who they just got swept, the Orioles, the Pirates, and the Rangers. And the last time I checked, I think we all can agree, those are some of the worst teams in baseball. So I know this question that I said in general is, have the fundamentals come back to haunt the Yankees again? But what Yankee team are we going to see, especially coming into a weekend that it's Boston, New York? We expect big things, fireworks, and it's always exciting. What do we expect from the New York Yankees this weekend?
Hold on, before Joe, can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
So, because this is going off of the question, so I sent you that article. So, were you in agreement with what Phil Muschamp wrote on that New York Post about fundamentals and not knowing outs and were you in agreement? I couldn't tell based on the text that you were either disagreeing with him or agreeing with him.
No, I agree with him. I mean, but my what I meant to say back to you was, and what I'll just say now is, what does Aaron Boone do to, I mean, if you're Joe Torre and everyone looks at you as like, grandpappy, it's a little bit easier to like appeal to these guys. But like, a dude a little bit older than you is like, you got to play harder. And you're like, come on. Yeah. Thanks, buddy. But it's the fundamentals are killing the Yankees. If you think back last postseason, I remember the series before they got bounced by Tampa Bay. Was it Minnesota? Right? We talked about fundamentals.
Yes.
No giving away outs, no getting thrown out on the base paths, errors, stuff like that, mental mishaps. They played well, and then they got to Tampa, and that series. That was the team you saw again, was that team that was kicking the ball around and getting thrown out on the base paths and giving away outs that in a game you just can't do it. And you're seeing that a lot. I mean, I literally just watched a video of all of Gleyber Torres's errors. And I'll tell you what, there were about 4 balls where just rough hop, got an error for it. And it was like, it would have been tough for anybody. Mostly what I saw is a guy who sometimes on grounders, obviously waits back. We talk about, he's a natural shortstop, played second for a couple of years, and has taken everything he learned at second to short, including going back on balls instead of coming up on balls. Mm-hmm. He takes his eye off the ball. Yeah, he takes his eye off the ball too much. And on very, very casual plays, you see the shoulder dip, and that's where he starts flaring it up the line or overthrowing first base. This is just sloppiness. Like, to me, how would you treat a kid who was doing this? You'd keep him after practice for an hour. So again, when I say, what is Aaron Boone supposed to do? Do they go and does he make them take infield practice? What is it Aaron Boone can do?
I think it's more the coaches. I think it's more Marcus Timms.
The coaching's a real problem here. You ruin Gary Sanchez as a catcher, and that affects his hitting, and we know what that's turned into. You moved Glaber over to second, which was stupid, and then you try to kick him over to short again, like you hadn't completely reconstructed the way he fielded and played the infield. What did you think was going to happen? But this idea of moving Glaber back to second when you have a Gold Glove winner at second, I'm sorry, that's a stupid thing to do. And that makes the Yankees weaker at a premium position up the middle. I'd rather have Urshela at short and DJ at second. That's solid up the middle. I don't care who plays third. Let Andujar play third. Let Glaber play third. I really don't care about third base, and I'm not really all that worried about first base. To me, wasting DJ LeMahieu at first base is the most idiotic thing on the planet.
So,
get Stanton a mitt. Go stand at first base, you monster. Just stand there. They'll throw it at you. Just catch it.
Yeah, so I know you guys both can't watch the Yankee games. Trev, you don't watch them, and Joe, you can't get them because of the Cox service. So Gio's a better shortstop. Gio made a play. What was it, Monday or no Tuesday? Watch the game Tuesday. 2 plays in the hole. Didn't have to. The old Jeter play, but didn't have to jump. He was able to catch the ball in the hole and throw it with enough zip, and he got it. Aruzarena on. What I'm saying is, if Glaber was in that position, if we took Gio out and put Glaber would have had to stop, pivot, throw. And Joe, I don't know if you also know this on double plays. You know when you're a shortstop at double play, you catch the ball like this, your hand's right here, so it's a transfer. He catches the ball with the glove, brings the hand to the ball, and then he winds up. All that time he's wasting. And then he tries to throw the ball harder, but he's overthrowing, tosses the ball into first base field. I mean, Trev, have you seen him? He takes the ball, and you're like, yep, there goes the ball. Down the line. I mean,
I know we're talking about.
Listen, he's not a good shortstop. I know he came up as a shortstop, and that was he's not a shortstop. Go put him at second. Put him at second. And I know, Joe, you're going to be like, well, what do you do with DJ? Then put him at third. Okay, put DJ at third, put Gio at short, put Glaber at second, and go find a first base.
But maybe like what Joe said, it's more of a credit or an example of what the Yankees did by switching him. And like you said with Gary too, I mean, these guys, these Spanish players, that these guys practice and are learning their whole life baseball. That's what they do. And they come up and they're playing for the Yankees. And a situation like this, they've been in this position their whole life. I mean, Glaber came up as a shortstop, specifically says shortstop. Gary Sanchez came up as a catcher, specifically as a catcher. They want to move him around in this. And now players nowadays, all players and people in general are get defensive, and they take it as we want to move you second because you stink at shortstop, or we want to just put you at DH and have you catch sometimes. We're going to sub you out in and out because you're not that good of a catcher. It just plays with the mind. Then you're like, okay, and then they're in the dumps now because they're like, oh, if I have one good game,
these guys.
Hold on. If they have one good game,
you're making excuses. Go play baseball. Be an athlete. You're a professional athlete. Stop making excuses. And
I'm not making excuses. I'm not making excuses. It's a legit freaking thing.
Here's the thing. Andujar has actually played a good left field. Andujar has actually played really good left field lately. He has. And he was playing third base. You adapt. You become a professional player. You get better at your craft. Okay?
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just not that way. Other players are different, man.
All of a sudden, Clint Frazier is making diving catches and might be our best outfielder. Okay? The guy who couldn't catch the ball now makes every play, and I mean he's a Gold Glove outfielder now. I mean, every time I look, he's making an unbelievable play in the outfield.
He'll be coaching too. He'll be coaching.
Well, guess what? It also doesn't. Here's the other thing: mindset. I sent you the article to Joe. Your catcher doesn't know how many outs are out on the field every time.
That's a problem.
Remember in Little League, the catcher every time 1 out, guys. Next 2 outs, 2 outs.
I do that. I do that now in my wiffle ball and softball leagues. I mean, just out of habit. I can't help it.
Listen,
always do it. I mean, when I played softball, you always got to know the outs.
Something is mentally wrong with this team. Perfect example. I was trying to say it to you the other night, Joe. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. Now they won the game, but it's going to come back and haunt them. Gary Sanchez is on second base. You have 1 out. Ball hit the shortstop. I know this, and I'm not a professional athlete. If the ball's in front of your face, you don't run. Unless the ball's hit the second, you're at first, and you're automatic. You make sure that ball goes through. He takes off running like he's Ricky Henderson and gets thrown out at third. And now you have 2 outs, and you don't have a man in scoring position. The other night, Glaber getting picked off at first. Gio, the ball scatters away from the catcher, gets thrown out at third. They are so bad on the base paths. It's unbelievable. It's going to haunt them. Joe, I told this to Trevor when I was driving to the gym. I said, I think Joe's to a fault is too much of a Yankee homer, and I mean it like this. Remember we had the question, what team you think is the best team in the AL East? It's the Rays. They might not be the most talented team. The Yankees are the most talented team. That doesn't make them the best team. The Rays do everything well. Yesterday, Kiermaier hits the ball at second. He's flying down the first baseline, and you say, well, what does that mean? Hustle, and 2, that rushes the infielder's throw, which make him have a bad toss to first base, or the first baseman might have to bobble the scoop because he's in a rush. You hustle, you make effort. They have guys that can play multiple positions, and they do it well. Diaz can play first, he plays outfield, he can play second, third base. They're adaptivity or whatever ability to play multiple positions and do them well. They fundamentally play the game right. They don't make mistakes on the base paths. They field the ball cleanly. I mean, if you watched the game yesterday, they're unbelievable in the field. So what I'm saying is they don't make any mental mistakes. They do all the right things. They hit the ball, they bunt the ball, they hustle, they make the correct routes. They're able to go from first to third. They hit the cutoff man. We don't overthrow they do fundamentally things right. Now, of course,
do you think Princeton is better than Georgetown?
What do you mean? Into school?
Basketball, NCAA men's basketball.
I mean, right now, no.
Because let's be honest, whenever those two teams tangle in the NCAA tournament, there's always some pause there, right? You're like, the fundamentals of that Princeton, the pick and roll, that getting down to the basics, right? Underdogs, the leading scorers averaging like 12 points a game at Princeton. It's a different kind of experience there, right? Here's the thing about the Rays and why I still stand by what I said about the Yankees being the best team in the American League. And here's what I mean to say by that. You've got a superstar literally at every position.
Who?
The Yankees. There's a superstar. There's a superstar at every position.
They don't have I think
they don't have one superstar.
The only superstar
there is.
Cole.
Settle down. When I say superstar, I mean like look at the Rays team, position by position. Is there a guy on the Rays legit who you would take over a guy on the Yankees? Hold on, before you answer that question. I know you want to.
The whole effing team. At least I know what I'm getting.
All right, slow down. It's easy to say that today based on results, but when the season's over, you'll change your mind. But let's say when the season started, before any of this happened, is there any guy on the Rays who you would have picked at his contemporary position on the Yankees? There isn't. There isn't. You wouldn't have assumed Glaber was going to suck. You wouldn't have assumed that Voit would be mostly out of the lineup this year. You would look position by position, and you would say that's the better team. Now, when the question is which team's performing better today, it's the Rays by a mile. Easy for all the reasons you mentioned, but here's the reason why.
Hold on. I have a good analogy.
First of all, a lot of guys on that team are playing for their lives, where an extended slump in Tampa, you may be back in Durham and you may never come back again.
Well,
So
maybe
that's
the
a
Yankees
reality
do.
that those guys live with. Well, there you go. And here's where the pampered chef part happens. These guys are living large. I said, what is Aaron Boone going to do to this team to make them pay more attention, play harder? How is he going to do that? Because he's doing a lousy job of it this year. How do you motivate? How do you motivate millionaires at every position, multi-millionaires? Some guys making 20, 30, 40. So how do you do that? Now, again, in Tampa, I don't have to motivate you because your job is tenuous here. If you make a few errors and you go 0 for 30, you're probably gone and replaced by some other dude who's going to come up and rip 290 the rest of the season. Because that's what happens.
Wait, are you talking?
But you know what? Hold on. Hold on. I have two things to say, and then Trevor, do your thing, and I apologize. It's like a child. It starts at home. It starts at the parenting. It starts at the top. The Yankees have allowed this to happen. When you pamper them for as long as you have, this is what you get. You get a spoiled brat at 16 years old. Trevor will agree with this analogy. You know what the Rays are? They're the New England Patriots. You know who the Yankees are? The Pittsburgh Steelers. The team that couldn't beat the white guys who did everything fundamentally right. Pittsburgh Steelers. Trev, how many times we talk about this? Talented. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Ben Roethlisberger, Emmanuel Sanders, star offensive linemen, defensive players, all players. And then you have scrubs on the New England Patriots. And you know what they did? Like this. Just smacking around the Steelers. That's what the Rays do. Yeah, you're more talented. Yeah. Guess what? This isn't the NBA. They just smack around the Yankees and they do everything right. I mean, Yarmouth, they haven't had a complete game since 2016. The guy throws a 78-mile-an-hour fastball. We can't hit it. Pitches a complete game. We can't hit nothing. We don't run the base paths. We don't know how many outs there are. That is a mental problem. I don't know who that's on. Could you say it's on the individual? Listen, you would say, Joe, you're a grown-ass man. You're supposed to know how many outs there are. I mean, we got guys running off the field with 2 outs. We got guys running when they're not supposed to. I'm just waiting. I mean, we got Gary rounding the bases like Ricky Henderson. We don't know what's going on out there.
Let's be honest, though. The problem is literally 2 very basic things. Are you ready for it? A 226 batting average and 65 home runs. That's the problem here. They're not hitting, and when they do, they're not putting the ball in the seats.
But don't you think
years, hold up. For years, we've talked about this all or nothing approach, that it was bad. And what did the Yankees do? Did they go out and try to diversify their offense, get some on-base percentage guys, try to find a high batting average? No. Nope. They doubled down. They went out and they were like, Aaron Judge, there's another one? Let's go get that one too. What's that one's name? Stanton? Great. Let's get 2 monsters that can only play right field and will eventually need a DH every day. What could go wrong there? Oh, and that one's already got a 13-year contract. I'll take it. I mean, what?
I think it's a cover.
Look at this. Look at the outfield now as currently constructed, and you're like, do you remember 2 years ago when they got that Jabari Bush guy for somebody from San Diego? And we were like, got like 9 outfielders now. And now we're at a point where we're like, hey, Andujar, you want to give left a shot? Or what is going on in New York? This is on Brian Cashman. Because I don't think anybody could have looked at this roster and been like, it's injury prone, it's misplaced. You got too many guys playing out of position. You got too many guys who are, again, being poorly coached at their position. Yep. Why does Gary Sanchez need to relearn catching? There's something you liked about him when he was 15. Something about 15-year-old Gary, you were like, we want that guy. You know, at any point between 15 and 20 years old, they could have moved him to another spot. But they kept him behind the plate, only to continue to screw with the guy. This is on the organization. I said that before the year, and that was before we decided that Glaber's just not a shortstop. How does the organization fail so big on two guys? Now the question becomes Aaron Judge. Does he stay for the long haul? Again, you've already got the other version of him locked in for like 10 more years. So you've made a lot of your own problems here. Nobody expected DJ LeMahieu's batting average to tumble 100 points. That's a huge problem. That's
maybe one of the bigger issues of why we really haven't talked about this offense is probably because DJ LeMahieu is taking a huge dip, literally 100-point dip. I mean, when he was getting on base, everything, and I've been saying it since he became the official leadoff hitter for Gardner.
You'll recall
everything started with DJ. Everything, the offense was going, the truck was going, the engine was moving when DJ LeMahieu was getting on base. He's not.
His batting averages last year in Colorado was 256 for the year.
What's he at right now?
255 right now.
Isn't it crazy when a guy gets a contract, they always seem to kind of crap the bed? Then I'm trying to. While you guys are talking, my mind's thinking, and I'm thinking of the teams that won the championships in the 90s. And they remind me more like the Rays. Remember, you'd be like, they got Luis Plania, they got this guy in Brocious, or they got like Luis Soho, and it's like he was on the backup for the Mariners, but like he could come in and like play excellent defense, like could play short and
nitty-gritty type players.
You know what I mean? Like role players. I think, Joe, I think you're right. It starts with the front office. They've gotten too many guys of the same piece. You know, like a puzzle. You know, sometimes the pieces, they look the same, but like one's got, you know, they have too many of the similar pieces, you know, and when you go all in for nothing, so you said, well, they're not hitting. Well, I think the hitting and home runs have covered up their mistakes. You know, like sometimes like you can have a superstar and they cover up the real, like the Lakers, perfect example. Having LeBron James covers up all the flaws that the Lakers really are. They had no shooting. You know what I mean? They didn't have a point guard. There's a lot of superstars can cover up. The Yankees hitting and ability to hit home runs covers up a lot of their mistakes. And now that they're not hitting, and for average or home runs, you're starting to see all the other things trickle up.
All the actual flaws that we've been talking about.
Think about this.
Well, we've been talking about this for years now.
When Gary hits around 270 with 35 homers, his catching looks fine. His catching's not a problem. When he's hitting 202 and he's not putting the ball in the seats and he's running into outs, it's I can't not notice how you're and
Glaber.
And that's where we're at. And same thing.
But he's not hitting 35 home runs. He doesn't have 100 RBIs. He's not batting 280. Well, he is a problem. I love him. I'm a true Yankee fan. I want all of them to succeed. But there's a major issue. This team, I sent you that article where they need to do something. Now, I know it's the middle of the season. You're not going to be able – you're going to have to live with it. We are going to have to live with it for the rest of the season. Maybe you'll make a move or two. You know, we've joked and talked about the Trevor Story for Glaber, all right? But that's still not going to fix the fundamental issues of running down the base pass, hitting the cutoff, you know, making the right plays. Now, fundamentals, though, comes to the coaching staff, right? I mean, that comes down to the coaching staff about doing the right thing. You know, Joe, Mike, it just baffles me how many times they've gotten thrown on the base paths. It's going to haunt them. And that's why they're not going to win the World Series this year. Doesn't matter. Even with Severino back and if Voit comes back, they are not winning the championship. They're not that good. They're talent-wise, they are superb. Okay? I mean, but they are as a team. Listen, how many times did the Patriots win championships? They were the most talented team. I mean, they had the best quarterback and the best coach, but they had a bunch of other guys that, like Ninkovich. You think Ninkovich or some of these guys would have succeeded in other programs? But that comes down to coaching.
Did it before.
And I think, Joe, you hit it on the head too. Sorry, Trev. The pampering of these babies. You pampered them since 2017. That's why Girardi's out, because he was the old whipping post, you know, and bang, bang, bang. Now we got to pamper him. Well, now you got a 16-year-old spoiled brat, and you got guys with injury who can't hit, and they make mistakes. And I'm sorry, that comes on to you as an individual and you as the coaching staff to do the right thing. And it's a poor job on Cashman on finding these players and of the same caliber and making mistakes. Because sorry, the Hicks deal sucks. He's garbage. Okay, he had one damn good season. He's never played in more than 140 games more than like once or twice in his career. Okay, he had one good season. We gave him a 7-year contract. Not that good of a player.
You want to know what his batting average was at the time? That year? Yeah, he had 30 home runs. It was like 242 batting average.
So, I mean, and then, you mess with Glaber.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Second. Gio's our best shortstop.
For 10 million.
Gio's my favorite player. I mean, Gio.
Guys, all we have to do is bat 242 and we can make 10 million a year.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Basically.
I mean, they screwed with Gary. Gary will never be the same player. He's done. Hicks has got to go. Gary's got to go. Glaber's got to go. Those are the type. I mean, you would be like, no, why would you? They got to go. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work anymore. The whole scrap the plan. It's done. It's over with. And sorry, Joe. I think if the Yankees don't win the World Series, I know he just signed the contract. Boone's got to go. And you'd be like, well, is it really Boone's fault?
I'm glad you said that. I was actually going to say, I think right now, Aaron Boone should be let go. I think you should fire Aaron Boone, and you should see if Joe Torre will finish out this season. And I'll tell you why.
Is this your one more thing?
It's my one more thing right now. Listen, I got a feeling. When I said to you earlier, and I really started thinking about it, Ted, when I said earlier, what can Aaron Boone do? And I mean, fact of the matter is, this used to be a strategy in sports where you had an underperforming team of superstars, and in order to motivate said team,
you fire the coach,
fire the manager.
Wakes everyone up.
It does. And you feel bad. You know
everybody's
that.
Out should be
sure. Gary knows running in the outs, and Glaber knows the fielding, and Ford knows not knowing how many outs. And
hey, look,
you know it's your fault. You did that.
Look at the Atlanta Hawks. Fired their coach in the beginning of the year. Nate McMillan takes over. Guess what? They're in the Final Four of the Eastern
Got to bring the right guy in, though. You got to bring in a Nate McMillan, good guy, real good basketball guy. A guy, who's played, who's managed, or coached, rather, and has a good history there. A guy who walks in the locker room, instant credibility, right? Got a talented team. It's like, all right, we're going to play for this guy.
Monty Williams for the Suns. Very well respected throughout the league. Was a really good coach, assistant coach for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Went for the Suns. He's well respected through the league, played in the league. Look at the Suns. Yes, they have Chris Paul. Yes, they have Devin Booker, but it also starts with coaching staff. When I look at this Yankee team, maybe because I watch them every single day, I nitpick. And listen, I'm not a professional athlete, okay? I never played in college baseball, but I know the game of baseball. I know that when the ball's hit to short and I'm on second, there's less than 2 outs, I stay in and check to make sure the ball goes through. And if it does, then you advance to third. If not, because you don't want to be the lead out on third. You know what I mean? The mental you don't get picked off at first. I mean, the other night they had I only showed you that Glaber got thing, but Gio gets thrown out third, and then Glaber gets picked off at first. They had 2 outs before the guy got his own out, before they get the third. We laugh about it. We've joked about it. Their fundamentals on the base pass, I mean, is huge now. It's not a little pebble no more. It's a boulder rolling down the hill, and it's catching up to them. And if Cole's not 12 Ks in 8 innings, and they don't hit 3 home runs, they lose.
This is going to be a little bit stupid, but bear for a minute. In my softball league, there's certain teams that will play that I know we're not good on defense. We play in a pretty high up league, mind you. Sometimes, balls at first in the dirt, I'll just go for second because I know they're not going to make the play, and they're going to just start throwing the ball around. Every now and again, I've been thrown out, and my teammates get pissed, but they understand. I'm trying to create something sometimes. I've been in that situation at second, grounder in the hole. I'm running, though, and I'm going to jump over the ball to try to make it. I mean, if the ball's so far ahead of you that you can't obstruct it, you got to know you got to go back. So super poor on Gary's part to really, I mean, that's like That's like a guy who's never played baseball before that would happen to. That's how shocking a move I thought that was. But again, it speaks volumes about the Yankees coaching right now. And I do think that might be there. And I like Aaron Boone a lot. He's a good guy. He's done a good job. But to me, and again, not to sound like an old Yankee fan, if George Steinbrenner were at the helm, he would know, and nothing personal, Aaron, got to let you go. I got to fire this team up, and you're the sacrificial lamb.
That's
why
at the very least, by the end of the day, I'd like to see Marcus Timms out.
That's why I want to close out with this quick statement. The Yankees should have never got rid of Joe Girardi. I don't care what anybody says. I think it was a terrible decision on their part to get rid of him.
Here's my thing, though, Trev. I think they'd be in the same predicament.
No, they wouldn't.
Because the players are the same. The players are the same. Okay, the coach can only do so much. Listen, as much as what Joe is right about Aaron Boone, Joe Girardi can't go hit for Gary Sanchez or Aaron Judge or Gleyber Torres. Now, yeah, he could be more strict on them and punish them. And, I'll sit on the bench, if you make a mistake. But then, who are you going to put in? I mean, there's only 3 or 4 guys on the bench. It's not like, you got 5. And they're not sending Judge and Gary Sanchez and Gleyber down to AAA and punish them and put them in timeout. It is what it is, and we have to accept it. And it's going to be a long season. You're going to have 7-game win streaks, and you're going to have 7-game losing streaks because that's what this team is right now. They're not consistent.
We'll see what happens this weekend. A big series against the Sox as they come into town. Finally, for the first time this season, the Yankees and Red Sox will be underway in the Bronx. So we'll see how it goes. Last weekend we talked about quickly who was going to be the real legit team out of the AL East. Well, I think the Rays have established themselves as the true leaders right now of the AL East currently. We got to see how the Yankees fare against a big division opponent, and it's the Boston Red Sox, who is also on a tear as well. So we have to see how it goes. Let's hope for the best because the past week it's been the inconsistent New York Yankees, as we like to call them this year. Which team shows up this weekend, we will see. But it's going to be a fun weekend. I can't wait to see it. It's Yankee Red Sox. It's always fun. You got the NBA playoffs. That's been great. And hopefully some big NFL news will come out later because you're still waiting on Julio Jones. Is Aaron Rodgers going to show up? We'll be talking about all of that next week. Joe, finish up. What do you want to say, Joe?
At least the Yankees pitching is as well. I think you could fix. I think the hitting can turn around. I think some of that you can fix some of that stuff. You could shake this team up somehow. Don't know how, but it could be done. To me, the pitching being as good as it can be, as good as I hoped it would be, and we talked in the preseason, I said it could be this good. The Kluber thing could be problematic, but Sevy's on the horizon. As long as the bullpen and the pitching stays the way it is, the Yankees still have a fighting chance if they can get their heads out of their collective behinds.
Well, we will see. We are streaming on all social media platforms at Keys to the City, so subscribe, comment, share, and like. Also, you can follow the Joseph Aguirre, the president of Clovercrest Media. Are you cold?
Yeah. It's like 62 here.
Like 70.
He's got a hoodie on, cold still.
It's like 70 degrees in my house right now, 72.
I don't know.
I'm wearing shorts. I'm wearing shorts too, mind you, but yeah, I'm literally kind of shivering.
Are you as cold as the New York Yankees offense right now?
Yes, I am. I'm like Mike Ford at the plate.
Wow. That's pretty cold.
Freezing.
Another guy.
Clovercrest Media presents Keys to the City. We are out.
Yeah. Keys to the city, baby. When you see us, so you know you really viewing greatness in the making. Double up on facts we stating. Podcasting, cruise control, city, state, the nation. So what you saying, what we saying, prime information. Facts, keys to the city, we unlocking the statements.
Streaming every Friday.